everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Live this afternoon. My name is Carlo Libertini, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. We're going to be looking at Smartcomp version 2 by the great folks at Sonible. Now, I've been using Smartcomp for a little while, so I was super excited when version 2 came out, and I've had a chance to kick some tires with it in advance, of course, and we're going to share this experience together. So this is a live stream. If you're lucky enough to be joining us here tonight live, this afternoon live, then let's get the chat going. I will do my best to keep an eye on that, of course. There will be a latency of about 14 seconds between what you type and what I see. So, you could type it a few more times just to really catch my attention. It would be great. If you're going to join us in the future, then thanks for chiming in. Then leave your creative comments below. Now, let's talk Smartcomp 2. If you've used Smartcomp, then you already know that this is quite a unique compressor. Now, to kind of sum it up, it's a ultra high resolution, multi-band, ultra transparent compressor. So it works great on as inserts, as buses, and even on your master faders, and even in mastering situations. Now, it does this because it has AI built into it. It's very intelligent. In fact, the spectral dynamics processing, from what I understand, has about 2,000 bands of analysis happening at the same time to give you quality with your compression, thus the whole transparency. It's kind of a holy grail situation here, and it does it extremely well. So let's have a little bit of fun. All right, I created a session. I was up super late last night for us. I got some drums, I did some acoustic guitars, and some electric guitars. It's a little bit of a rock thing, but it's a great example of different kinds of instruments that we can kick some tires on. So without further ado, let's take a listen to what we're going to be working with here. This is what I wrote last night. We're looking at Smartcomp 2 now. It's beautiful, it's elegant, it's easy to use, and it's super functional. Now let's talk about what makes this so unique. Now I feel that starting with a profile is absolutely a great place to start. Here at the very top of the plugin, we have profiles. Now part of the update is a lot more profiles, and this is going to jumpstart your creativity. These aren't arbitrary, they're intelligently created for you to get started, and I have had nothing but good luck with these. I feel totally confident picking one, and sometimes I'll even experiment a little bit and maybe mix it up with put vocals low on a high-pitched acoustic guitar or something, and vice versa, just to maybe fool around to see and test myself, because I'm a geek that way when it comes to plugins. I just love it. So we've got all of these new profiles available to us, and in fact, why don't we get started? Here you can see that I've already inserted Smartcomp on my overheads bus. And the reason why I did that is because in this particular mix, there's a lot of snare drum in the overheads. Here, let's take a listen to just the overheads, for example. Okay. All right, I'll just solo them. You can hear there's a lot of snare drum in there. Let's bring both sides in. So it's almost like a full, well-rounded kit sound. And I've also inserted it here on my snare drum. Let's bring that in too. So I'm using that snare drum mostly to also, I am compressing it spectral dynamically here with Smartcomp 2, but I'm also running it through Smart Reverb, which is also a really great plugin from Sonible. But let's start with going to our drum bus so we can do some total kick butt global editing here. All right, here's our drums as a whole. Now, the way that we get started is very typical, and we're going to get into some of these new features right now. Under Universal, I'm going to choose let's go to drum bus. And it helps to profile the audio at pretty much the most energetic part of your song, or known as perhaps the loudest parts. But this is has some pretty steady continuity throughout it. So let's just profile it from the beginning. So what it's doing now is it says, okay, these are drums. And it's giving us this profile based on what it's hearing. Thus the whole AI advantage to this. It's not just a blanket preset. Presets are kind of like settings that you just save and call it up and put it on, any kind of audio source. But the AI profiles here are different. They are truly listening to your audio. In this case, our drum bus. All right. Now, next to that, we've got different here. You get different, you could change these, you can save these states. For example, if I go to state 2, you'll see it's back to default. So this is a great tip for you, is if you wanted to audition different profiles, let's now switch to number 2, and let's profile this with, let's say, a mix. Let's say a rock mix. Press play and profile. So it's going to process this with different algorithms. And now you can switch between the two. Here's the first one. Here's this next one. Big difference, right? Here's the first one again. Quick and easy way to audition different settings here by saving the states and starting with profiles. All right, now I think that's really important because you could also, by the way, here's a little tip for you. You could drag one on to one of the numbers and let it go. And now you have an exact copy of that. Because let's say you wanted to change just one little thing like that. See what I did? I lowered the ratio on that one. So you can kind of A/B it a little bit there. So that's really cool. Now, again, because it's a spectral compressor and it does more than just, it's almost not fair to call Smartcomp to a compressor, because you're kind of lumping it in with the whole genre of compressors. It's not fair to call it that when it does so much more. And I think that's fair to say that Smartcomp 2 is more of a compressive creative tool than just a dynamics editing tool. And part of that comes from one of my favorite sections right here is the style dials. These are great. Once you profile, these 3 parameters are now available for you. They're not available to you unless you run a profile. So there's another tip for you. Let's take a look at what these do here. Now, the first one here, style, this is where you're going to change the characteristic of the compressor. It says clean to dirty, but this could be also considered transparent to more warm or perhaps even tube-like. And blending these in with the other parameters, I think, can give you a lot of tonal creativity. For example, you have bright and dark here. You can add a little bit of a dark tonality or bright tonality. Let's try that. Let's dirty it up a little bit. Oh, I can hear that. Perhaps if you're listening to this on really great studio monitor is great, but I definitely recommend headphones if you got them on hand. Now let's bypass the plugin. Here's before Smartcomp on the drum bus. Listen for tonality as much as the dynamics processing. And let's bring it in. Now there's a certain kind of snap. I raised the brightness to about 87. And these parameters would probably be different if I was playing it in context with the full band. Now what the spectral compression does here, you can see it adjusts the amount of spectral compression. For example, if you have it set to 0, then there's no spectral dynamics going on. It's just a regular compressor. So there's another tip for you. If you just want to use this as a traditional compressor, bring this setting here in the middle to 0. If you want to start introducing spectral dynamic compression, then you can elevate this up till it feels right. And you'll see that behind us, scrolling behind this, right here, these green bands are indicating where spectral compression is being applied. See right there? On the hardest hits, of course. Because those are the ones more likely to introduce artifacts. Let's bypass this. I use a bypass here that's included at the bottom. Let's bring it in. Now, this wouldn't be such an exceptional tool if it didn't include tools to further these functions. If you look over here, we can adjust the range of frequency that is going to get spectrally, dynamically, transparently compressed. So if I only wanted to dynamically adjust a range between, let's say, 20 hertz and 3 kilohertz, I can bring this down and further it. And you can see by the color representing the spectral dynamic compression that it is truly working. If you wanted full bandwidth, bring it up to 20 kilohertz. So you can set the range and frequency. Okay? I'll leave it full range right now. Now, there's so much more. So why don't we move on to some more instruments and we could do some more examples, okay? Now this was on the drum bus. And as I pointed out before, I have it running on my overheads, my snare. I have smart reverb, as I mentioned before, here on one of my snares. And then of course here on the drum bus. Let's have a little bit of creative fun now, because one of the functions that I love about Smartcomp is not only is it transparent and powerful and easy to use, it makes it great for sidechaining. Let's analyze the bass guitar. Okay, I've inserted this on our bass guitar right here. Let's solo the bass. And right now it's not set to anything, it's just been inserted. Really great, nice full-bodied rounded bass. Why don't we run a profile on this? Let's select it from a profile dropdown. So many more to choose from. And let's choose bass electric. I'll press playback and let's analyze the instrument. Just takes a couple of seconds. It's amazing how it does this. There, now it's just leveling. It's riding it a little bit. So within this here are the parameters to control our threshold. You could select and adjust the threshold here and the ratio like so. Okay, and this is going to be your knee. You can adjust, you can literally have the flexibility to create how the compressor is introduced with these parameters. And then next to that, we've got attack, which you can also contour and shape and create to taste. And of course, the release, which is on this side right here. Right now I have it set to auto. Okay, so you can draw it in. I love the graphic that you can actually flexibly create, because not all audio is going to be the same. So oftentimes when you reach for a traditional basic function compressor, you know what you're getting. But you find yourself layering other inserts, for example, or doing further work to try to really get what you want from it. But when you do it all within one plugin like Smartcomp, it happens at once. And it's really easy to use. It's really great housekeeping when it comes to your workflow. Okay? And it also has an auto release, which I kind of tend to favor. Now you see as I bring this down, there's more dynamic spectral compression it's detecting in there. Let's really push it. Now we're really pushing it, but it's thanks to all of 2,000 bands of spectral detection. It's amazing how still transparent that was. I really love that, because you can push this and it will creatively maintain that that transparency. Now I'm pushing this quite a bit here. Let's see. Now remember our frequency range. That sounds nice. I'm actually only dynamically processing between 1 kilohertz and 20 hertz there. Here's without. Let's try that again. Here's without. And here's with. And again, you can adjust the style of compression here and the color and the amount of spectral compression. All right. And if you, right here, this button right here is a little secret. You can actually turn this on and AB the default initial setting of Smartcomp 2 here. And then by deactivating it, this is the original one, the original basic electric guitar setting that we started with. And this is a new one that we have pushed to create. So this button right here will give you an AB of what the profile gave you and what you manually inputted. All right, I really, really like that. All right, let's go back. And now let's talk about sidechaining. Let's go to our kick drum, of course. And here I'm going to choose sidechain, and we'll send it to the bass guitar. Oh, actually, I have my group on. I was going to send everything to the bass guitar. Poor bass guitar. Sidechain, yeah, let's bring that to the bass guitar. There. Now I basically sidechained my kick drum to Smartcomp 2 here. And to activate it, you have to activate it. Toggle this feature on. Now, when the kick drum plays, we will hear the sidechaining effect on the bass. Can you hear how it's really pushing it? And we haven't even adjusted any settings. We're using the basic profile setting that it did when it analyzed the performance. Here's before, without sidechaining. And this is with the sidechain here, activating the kick drum, activating Smartcomp 2 on the bass guitar. Oh, love it. Now, if you notice here in our output meter section, I have auto gain automatically created here. You can deactivate it right here, by toggling it, make sure I'm not blocking it. Let's see, there it is, it's right there, okay? And you can adjust the decibels. You can reduce the level here if you wanted. Here's the wet dry mix. You can adjust the wet dry mix and adjust the scale. And here's the dB outs, and here's the gain reduction meter. Now it also has a unique feature called input riding. When I open this, what this is going to do is it's going to actually automatically ride the input gain for us. This is really unique to Smartcomp 2, and that's why, again, you can't just throw this in the bin with everything else called a compressor. You just can't. It's in a class of its own. You're able to adjust the speed at which Smartcomp 2 applies automatic gain riding on the input signal, and the intensity right here, how much it's going to impart itself upon that. Okay, so that's called input riding. You can see the input rider will try to keep your input signal at a relatively consistent level, which I feel is really great for instruments like kick drum and bass for most genres of pop music and rock today, or almost any kind of music. So that's another tip for you, okay? And that's called input riding. You find that right here in this section, right here. Okay. Okay, when it's green, it's on. Let's take it off. Ready? Let's bring the whole band in. Okay, I'm going to mute that guitar for now, and let's go on. So I think that sounded great. I just absolutely love that. I'm going to do just drums and bass really quick for us. Just drums and bass guitar right here. There, it's really shaping up. Absolutely cool. Let's do something else that's a little unique and brand new to Smartcomp 2. And for that, I'm going to go to my acoustic guitars here. You can see I'm busing them here to this channel. And why am I busing them here? Because I wanted to show you a really cool new feature right here, user defined. Smartcomp 2, what do they call it? I think they call it freeform tools, where you can now impart a lot more of your own, freeform transfer functions. Freeform transfer functions. This is new to Smartcomp 2 because it includes a gate, parallel compressing, and yes, you can do mid-side processing. In fact, before we get carried away, let me go to my drum section just to show you some mid-side processing. To activate mid-side, here we got it in stereo, mid-side. If you had a surround sound interface and you were set up for it, there would also be a surround sound option here too. Super cool. I'm going to switch to mid-side. Now you can see that right there. If you don't see it, sometimes it's hiding. So to affect the spectrally compress just the mid, select the M here, and the sides, select right there. Now we're in the sides mode. So we can actually compress. Let's say I wanted to compress the mids a little bit more and the sides just a little bit less. And you could even adjust a different knee for the mids. One thing I wish I could do though, let's see if I'm wrong. All right, that's the sides. Here's the mid, and there's the sides. It looks like you cannot have two separate settings for mid and side. So maybe if I had a wish list for Smartcomp 3, as I switch between dynamically spectral compressing the sides and the mid, I would love to see perhaps these parameters represent unique settings for these. And I'm only saying that because I love what they do. I love what they do and I'm inspired by them. Let's take a listen to this. So you can see the different elements of the graph now representing the mid and the sides. Here's the sides, and here's what's happening to the mid. Sounds good. I'm actually going to leave it there. And let's go back to our acoustic guitars now, because I wanted to show you more of that freeform goodness. Here's Smartcomp on our acoustic guitars. Now let's solo them, and let's do a profile Or we could just start right here. Let me start here. Let's go to parallel. And let's do a profile anyway, because we're here. All right, let's go to guitar acoustic. I'm going to press play and profile them. Notice that it'll only start profiling once it hears audio. Oh, that was great. Just kind of tucked in the pocket there. Did you hear that? Here's before. And here's after. Of course, I think I would further EQ this a little bit. Now let's go to user defined and let's go to parallel and run through some of these. Even has a noise gate function here. I'm going to go back to the beginning. I wish I knew more about this. Oh, I like that. So in the user defined area, this is where you would begin to get more personal with the plugin, I should say. You can see how these parameters are changing as I was scrolling through them. Why? Because there's a lot of AI built into Smartcomp 2, and that's great. But if you wanted to work with the AI, then that's where the freeform transfer function, I think, comes into play. Now, of course, I would love to learn more about this. If you're watching this in the future, tell us what you think about this new function right here and how you're using it and what, everyone else can do to try to take advantage of this, because it's like Pandora's box. I love this plugin. It's as deep as you want to go, but every step along the way, it really does inspire me to stay creative. And that's what plugins should do today. So now that we got some on the acoustic guitar here, let's bring in everything. We'll bring in everything but the electrics. Thank you, Lenga. I appreciate you joining me here in this chat room. Everyone who's taking their time to be with us today, you're just amazing people. And obviously you love audio production as much as we do. So that makes us family. And I hope you are getting a lot out of this Smartcomp 2 presentation. There's only so much I could do with the time we have. And a lot of what I'm showing you is about the process. But the best way to find out is always going to be for yourself, Lenga. So thank you for that creative comment there. All right, let's go to, which is some of the time we've got left here. So we did some acoustic guitar there. We did some drum bus, some side chaining, a little bit of acoustic guitar here. Let's bring it in now on my electric. Let's get a little bit rock and roll. All right, here it is on my electric guitar, and I'm going to solo this. Now you may be thinking to yourself, compression on electric guitar? Yes, I'll tell you why. Because dynamically, obviously, not only an amplitude, but sometimes the amplitude of certain frequencies can pop out at you. And I think that having a dynamic spectral analyzing compressor like this, which exceeds a transparency, is great for smoothing out the electric guitar performance and gluing it in your mix more. So why don't we do that now under Universal? I will do guitar electric, and let's profile it. See what Smartcomp has to say for us. Oops, sorry about that. Here we go. Now, whatever DAW you're using, I'm using Studio One Pro here today. I have Pro Tools, I have Logic, I have all of them, and I love them all. Love obviously using Studio One Pro here. So let's profile the guitar. And again, it's waiting. It won't do anything until it feels the signal. There. Now, another reason why I feel a Smartcomp 2 is great on all kinds of instruments, especially electric guitar like this, is because after profiling it, remember now the contour buttons here for color and tonality are now made available to you. So often you may have the habit of reaching for an EQ, but this is very different. This is very different because when you're changing the style from clean to dirty, transparent, warm compression, you also can change the tonality in a different way. So it gives you an extra advantage if you want to choose this over a traditional EQ. For example, with the color here, let's do a little editing here. So if I thought it was a little too brash, a little too bright, I could make it darker. And let's say I only wanted to spectrally compress maybe from about 800 hertz to, let's say 10K. So now we're narrowing the processing between 10K and 735 for spectral compression. Okay, now raise the style to 76. Here's before. And here's after. So many of you out there who do guitar work, hey, this could be your new best friend just like me. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lars, for asking. Can I do a test on a vocal? To be honest with you, yes, I could. Because we're coming out of the whole pandemic thing in the last 2 years, I have been very limited with recording vocals in my studio. So I've kind of used them all, and I need to get some new permissions from those artists, which I'm waiting to get. But thank you for asking. I love working this on vocals, group vocals, backup vocals. It does sound great. I don't have a demonstration now, but I promise I'm working on them now that things are getting back to normal. So thank you for understanding. But this whole process I'm showing you works great on any kind of audio source. Trust me. As I was saying, like on the guitar right here, Lars, it really did bring it out. But of course, we need to hear it in context of the whole mix. All right, so I'm going to adjust the style and the color to tuck it in. Too bright. There. So as I said before, rather than reaching for an equalizer, I was now using the tools built into Smartcomp 2 to change the color and the style of the tonality and the characteristic sound of this audio source. And if you're watching this right now in real time or joining us soon in the future, there's a huge promotion going on. Let me go back to these pages here. Show you that. Look at that. Smartcomp 2, here we're having a big sale, 39% off. So if you're able to chime in and see this and take advantage of this deal, this is a no-brainer. It's an excellent value because this compressor does more than just compress, as I just showed you. It is a tool in your arsenal for being creative, guaranteed. All right, and while you're at it, please visit our music marketing brand page and become part of our family today by liking and subscribing, because you'll have access, obviously, to I think over 1,000 pro audio tutorials for free. And you can join us for more live streams in the future. Get first notice for some of these advanced sales and discounts, and really just stay in the flow for what you love to do, and that's audio production, just like we do. All right, so let's take a listen to, I'm going to do something really cool here. Check it out. I'm going to bypass all the inserts. And this is what we started with before we applied Smartcomp. Lenga has a question about the CPU usage. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you. You know what? I'm actually running, let's see, I'm running a smart verb. I'll call that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 smart comps right now, and it's doing really, really, really well. It's not blowing it out too much. I don't think, I personally have never had a problem because I'm running an extremely powerful computer, but I know when we're working on laptops and such, it can be a little restrictive. I've not had any problems. You could always render the file if you wanted to, or if you ran into concerns, but we live in really good times these days where computer processing is just blown my expectations. So great question. Thank you. So this is without any Smartcomp at all. Thank you, everyone. It's a good, nice, well-balanced starting mix. And this is what you generally be working with. Whether it's electronic, EDM, folk, music, classical, transparency is key. Anytime, Lenga. Thank you. Now let's bring in all our effects. I'm going to turn on, right here, Studio One has a global button here to turn and activate all inserts. Here's where we are now. And I haven't put it on my master bus yet. So let's activate it on our master bus next and do an entire profile of the whole mix. Because remember, when Smartcomp 2 is dynamically analyzing your audio with 2,000 bands of AI analysis, this is going to sound great. So now this is on my master bus. I just put it on the master bus. And let's choose a profile for it, obviously from the drop down to get started. You don't have to, but I tend to. Universal, by the way, will just give you kind of a nice, pleasant global setting to get started if you know you're going to do some manual tweaking. But here in Mix, I'll choose Mix Rock, and let's go for it. Sometimes when you analyze different genres of music and styles, and you see what parameters they present to you, it helps you learn about the application too. I think that's a nice advantage to look at it as a beneficial way like that. So to go back to Lenga's question, we're talking about CPU heavy. I'm running about 8 or 9 smart comps plus a smart reverb on all these tracks, and it hasn't hiccuped yet. So now that we have it on our master bus here, of course, I have auto release on, my auto gain makeup here, input riding is off. We could turn that on. Might not be a bad idea, you know, to have the AI part of it ride the input level signal so things are a little bit more even. And believe it or not, Smartcomp 2 does way more than what we're just showing you here today. There's a lot of these elements that, of course, I'm still learning, because that's life. You never stop learning. It does include the manual when you do download it. And I recommend that if you're going to read any manual, it's only a couple pages, but it will help guide you. Oftentimes you get manuals, you gloss over it, you just want to dive in and have fun, and I don't blame you. But this manual is one that is totally worth reading and keeping on hand. It's another tip for you. Okay, so now I'm going to bypass all of these. One more time. Now let's bring in all of our Smartcomps here and listen for tonality and transparency. There's a lot of compression going on this mix. And it still sounds fluid and open. And we've just been glossing over some of this stuff. You can get very detailed. Okay, so there you have it. Smartcomp 2, everybody, by the great folks at Sonible. Please visit them or our brand page for more information. There'll be some links in the description below. My name is Carlo Libertini, and thank you for joining me here today. If you join us in the future, definitely leave your creative comments below. I hope you enjoyed this and you dive right in and take advantage of the special offer that they have, this introductory offer on the brand new Smartcomp 2. So, best way to find out is for yourself. Stay busy and stay creative, everyone. And thank you all in the chat room for hanging out with me. I hope to do this again real soon with you. Have a great day and stay busy.